Well, hello again, and welcome to another episode of Weird News and Wacky History, a look behind the scenes throughout the years. I'm your host, the old history dude, Pastor Roland Moss. Today we want to look at April Fools. Enjoy. April 1st, April Fool's Day, arrives each spring, yet people keep getting snookered. Here's how the British Empire messed with people's sense of time twice in just 4 years. In 1975, Australia's This Day Tonight news program announced the introduction of metric time. Featuring a 20-hour day, 100 minutes would make up each hour. Seconds would be called millidays, minutes would be known as centidays, and hours would be known as decidays. The network switchboard lit up as panicked callers asked where new metric clocks could be purchased, and if existing digital clocks could be switched over to metric time. South Australian's Deputy Premier Des Cochrane's endorsement really spoofed people. Then in 1979, London's Capital Radio revealed that a government task force was launching Operation Parallax in order to resynchronize the British calendar with the rest of the world. After decades of switching back and forth from British summertime, so the story went, England was supposedly 48 hours off from the rest of the planet. So 1979 would have no April 5th or April 12th. Panicked workers called in asking how to organize their work weeks, while skipped birthdays left celebrants wondering just how old they really were. And then there's the Israeli prankster. On Sunday, March 30th, 2012, Major General Ram Rothberg, commander of the Israeli Navy, issued surprise last-minute orders. 3 Israeli military vessels were to set sail for joint maneuvers with the fleets of the U.S. and the Italians. They were to hoist anchor at daybreak. The crew of the 3 ships were caught completely off guard. Officers scrambled to make sure the vessels were shipshape and that courses were laid in for the 10-day exercise. Sailors, unprepared for the surprise orders, contacted their families for needed gear that they'd left at home. By working at top speed throughout the night, the ships managed to top off ammunition, fuel, and supplies. When dawn arrived, family and friends who'd rushed dockside were present to wave them off, and the entire complement of the 3 vessels were lined up for inspection as General Rothberg was piped aboard. Officers and men alike snapped to attention to hear the general's words. They were, April Fools. The commander of their nation's fleet had staged an elaborate spoof. No one was smiling. Rothberg's superiors were not amused either, classifying the costly prank as inappropriate. A top-level investigation was immediately launched, quote, in order to derive the proper lessons, unquote. Something tells me General Rothberg didn't end up smiling either. And here's a dire April 1st warning from America's maple farmers. We live in a society prone to panic. Warnings about rumored events and supposed crises on the far side of the world can set Americans running around like chickens without a head. Just consider the effect of this story on All Things Considered in 2005. The recent craze in low-carb diets has caused a marked drop in the demand for New England maple syrup. Many producers have been forced to leave mature trees untapped, with surprisingly disastrous results. Maple trees are exploding due to excessive sap buildup. Described as a time bomb ready to go off, the Vermont Department of Health reportedly received notice of 140 injuries and 87 deaths attributed to bursting trees in 2005. Audible up to 20 miles away, over a dozen maple workers were decapitated by tree explosions. They even played recordings of distant tree detonations. Arboreal thermodynamic specialists were consulted, and they shared that Native Americans needed to regularly bleed stately maples. Sadly, this info wasn't always passed on to the colonists, leading to the current crisis. Aired on April 1st, 2005, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, it took quite a while for some listeners to realize that they were being spoofed. In fact, some internet posts still report the stories as being 100% factual. Gotcha. You say you want one more April Fool's spoof? Oh, okay. I saved the best for last. The BBC is the world's oldest and largest national broadcaster with a staff of almost 23,000. Panorama is a BBC current affairs documentary program that first aired in 1953 and is still on the air today. But in 1957, cameraman Charles de Jager came up with by far the most memorable show of its almost 70-year run. Well-known newsman Richard Dimbley narrated the show about Swiss farmers harvesting spaghetti. The film showed them raking the ripe noodles from pasta trees. The bumper crop was the result of a mild winter and the virtual elimination of the dreaded spaghetti weevil. Scenes of the annual Harvest Festival were shown, complete with huge platters of pasta being served up and a discussion of the breeding needs to grow trees that produce the perfect length of noodle. Pasta was a rare delicacy in post-war England, known mostly as a tinned product in tomato sauce. Hundreds of viewers contacted the BBC for details on how to grow their own spaghetti trees. They were told to, quote, place a sprig of spaghetti in a tin of tomato sauce and hope for the best, unquote. The classic show aired April 1st, 1957, and remains one of the most successful April Fool TV hoaxes of all time. And that's about all the time we have for this episode of Weird News and Wacky History, a look behind the scenes throughout the years. I'm your host, Pastor Roland Moss, that old history dude, wishing that all your news may be just a little bit weird.